In this video, we will talk about how to send a letter in Germany. How much does it cost? How long does it take for the letter to arrive? Where should you write the address on the envelope? And so on and so on. Do you know that you can send a letter in Germany by email? Yes, you don't even need any paper or a stamp. So stick around with me and we will go through everything in details. Hello, my name is Cindy. I'm from My Life in Germany. On my website, you can find everything you need to know about studying, working, and living in Germany. How to send a letter in Germany? Sending a letter in Germany is quite straightforward. Basically, you just need to put the letter into your envelope, write the address on the envelope with the correct format, and then bring your letter to a post office or any postal outlets in Germany. You can pay there and post your letter. Another way to do it is that you buy the stamp online. In that case, you can do everything at home and you just need to make sure you have the correct stamp on your envelope. Then you can bring your letter and drop it into any post box in Germany. How to buy postage stamps? The traditional way to buy a stamp is to go to a post office or any shops or supermarket which has a Deutsche Post logo. Nowadays, you can even buy a stamp without going to any shop. Just do it online. You can go to the Deutsche Post website and buy a stamp there, pay online, print out your stamp, stick it to your envelope, then you are good to go. If you are sending letters within Germany, an even better way to do that is to use the Post and DHL app. With this app, you can pay and get a code, and then you can write that code on your envelope. This code is then your stamp. And this is super convenient because you basically only need your app and a pen. You do not need to buy any physical stamps or print anything at home. So today I'm going to send a letter and I'm going to use this app to buy a code. Let's start. First, I'm going to this app and I'm clicking here for sender. This is because I am going to send something. Now I have to pick what I'm going to send. In this case, I'm going to send a letter, so I click brief. Now I can choose different type of letters I can send. For me, I just need the cheapest one. I have a very small letter, so I am going to choose the standard letter, 85 cents. You see here, I can choose. Either I can get a code that I can write with my pen on my envelope, or I can also print out something. But why should I print something? So I'm going to choose the code. Here, ask me how many stamps do I need. I need only one. And I need to put in my email address to confirm. So now I have to pay 85 cents. So you can use different payment method and you need to agree to the term. Now I can pay it. So after I pay, I'm getting a code here and I need to write this code at the top right-hand corner of my envelope. And that's it. This is my stamp. So now I have written this code on my envelope. So this is now my stamp. My letter is good to go and I'm going to post it. How to write the address on the envelope correctly in Germany? I still remember one time I had to send a letter at work and I had an international team. There was no German people there and it seems like nobody knew how to write the address on the envelope. In Hong Kong, we normally write the address in the middle of the envelope and the return address at the back of the envelope. However, this is not the case in Germany. So where should you put the address on the envelope in Germany? Here you can see the format. The recipient address should be put in this area. Normally, people put this at the bottom right-hand corner. And on the top left-hand corner, you see the return address, and on the top right-hand corner, you see the stamp. Remember, in Germany, the letters are sorted by machine. So you should leave some space at the right-hand side, left-hand side, and at the bottom, because this can make sure that the machine can read everything of your handwriting. Now let's learn some German words. Recipient is Empfänger in German, sender is Absender in German. If you want to be super clear, you can also write the abbreviation on the envelope so that people know exactly this address is from the sender and this other address is from the recipient. Here is an example of an envelope. You can see at the bottom right-hand corner, this is the recipient address, and on the top left-hand corner, this is the return address. I write also an here. An means to, so that you know this is for the recipient. And here I write ABS, so Absender, so that you know this is a return address. On the top right-hand corner, I put the stamp. You see, I also put some space at the left-hand corner, right-hand corner, at the top and at the bottom so that the machine can read everything on my envelope. What is the address format in Germany? You should write the address in the correct format to avoid any delay. Besides, the sorting is done by machine in the post office, so you need to have your handwriting as clear as possible. When you write the address, it should be left aligned. So a German address will look something like this. First, you have the recipient name on the top, and then you have the street name and house number, and at the end you have the postal code and the city. If you want to write a letter to the whole family instead of one specific person, then you can write familiar plus last name of that family. How to send a letter to a company in Germany? If you are sending a letter to a company, your address format should look something like this. First, you have the name of the company, and then you have the department or the contact person's name, and then you have the street name and the house number, in the end the postal code and the city. How to write an international address on the envelope from Germany? If you want to send a letter to your home country from Germany, you should use the format of your home country. On the last two lines, you should write the destination, city, and country in capital letters. For example, if I want to send a letter from Germany to my friend in Hong Kong, I would write something like this. So first I have the name of my friend and then the address in Hong Kong format. In the end, I write the city and the country in capital letters. How to send a letter to Germany when you are abroad? If you are sending a letter within Germany, you don't necessarily have to write the country Germany in the address. But if you are sending a letter from abroad to Germany, then for sure you will need to write Germany in the address. If you want to be even more clear, you can also write Deutschland in the address. How much does it cost to send a letter in Germany? The cost of sending a letter in Germany depends on different factors. For example, the size and the weight of your letter, the destination country, and where you buy your stamp. If you buy your stamp online, it's normally cheaper than if you buy a stamp at the post office. If you want to know exactly how much it will cost you to send the letter, you can check the price at the Deutsche Post website. I have included this website in the video description below. So let's take a look. When you go to this page, you need to first choose what are you sending. So brief is the letter and postcard is postcard. And if you are sending something else, you can pick it here. Today I'm going to talk about sending a letter. So I will click letter here. Here you need to say where you want to send a letter. So in Germany or worldwide. So I'm going to click Germany. Now you need to pick the format. Is your letter rectangular or is it a square? So for me, it's a rectangular, so I click this one. The next one, you need to choose the size. Is it a small envelope or is it a big one? So here's the size. I'm going to choose the small envelope. And how many pages? Up to 3 pages or up to 8 pages, and the weight. So let's say I'm going to send a small letter, so I click this one. Then now we come to the price page. There are 4 different options you can choose from. So this is the cheapest one and the most expensive one. So what are their difference? You see there are many words here. An important German word for you to learn is Haftung. Haftung means liabilities. So you see that the cheapest 2 options here have no liabilities. And if you are picking the more expensive one, you have a liabilities until 20 euro and this one until 25 euro. So it means that you can get some money back in case your letter is lost. So you may want to pick that if you are sending something valuable. The other word you should know is Sendungsverfolgung. It means tracking. So the cheapest option here has no tracking, and here the other 3 options have tracking. So if you are sending something important, for example, your tax return, your contracts or other legal documents, is better to pick an option with tracking. One other word you should know is Einschreiben. Einschreiben means that you are going to get a notification when the letter is delivered. There is a difference between Einschreiben, Anruf, this one, and Einschreibung here. So the difference is that if it is an Einruf, that means you are going to receive a notification when the letter is delivered and dropped to the post box of your recipient. The other one, Einschreibung here, means that your recipient will have to sign that he received your letter. This is a good option to use if you are sending something very important. For today, I'm just sending a normal letter, so I'm going to pick the cheapest option. So now we come to this page. Here I can see all the description of my order. If there is no issue, then I can click here. If I click here, then I will come to a page where I can pay. Afterwards, I can print out the stamp and I can then stick this stamp on my envelope and then I can post my letter. How to send a letter in Germany by email? Do you know that you can send a letter in Germany by email? This is a service offered by Deutsche Post called e-Post. With e-Post, you can send your letter without any paper or stamp. You just need to send your letter online. You can check out the e-Post service on the Deutsche Post website here. I have included the website in my video description below. Now, let's take a look how does this service work. Actually, this is pretty simple. First, you just need to write your letter online. And if you have any document or photos that you want to attach, you just attach them. Then you need to write your recipient address. In the end, Deutsche Post is going to print out everything, put them into an envelope and put a stamp on the envelope. They will then deliver your letter. The great thing about this service is that you don't even need to go to a post box. You can do everything absolutely at home and you can send a letter anywhere within Germany. You cannot use this service to send a letter outside of Germany though, but if you are now not in Germany physically, you can still use this service and send letter within Germany. That is pretty cool, isn't it? How long does it take for your letter to arrive? According to Deutsche Post, most of the national letters arrive on the next business day. This is the case if you post your letter before the last pickup time. For example, if you post your letter in a post box, you can check the last pickup time on the post box. It is written there. If you send a letter internationally, the delivery time will depend on the destination country. Normally, it can take a few days for your letter to arrive, but sometimes it can also take up to 2 weeks depending on where you send your letter to. If you want to know how long it will take for you to send a letter internationally, you can also use this website to check. This is a website from Deutsche Post. I have included the link in my video description below. So you need to choose the destination country. Let's say I'm now going to send a letter to Hong Kong. Then I choose Hong Kong and what kind of things you are sending. So for me, it's a postcard or a normal letter. So I pick this one. And here you can see the price and Laufzeiten is the delivery time. You can see here that it normally takes around 6 to 10 business days to send a letter to Hong Kong, and the average time is 9.2 days. So I should expect around 2 weeks if I send the letter to Hong Kong. You can use this page to estimate around how long it takes for you to send a letter to different countries. How to receive post and mail in Germany. One thing I found very interesting is that in Germany, there is usually no house number in the address. So it means that if you live in a building, every apartment in that building will share the same address. And the postman will deliver the letters based on your last name. That is why it's super important to put your last name on your postbox. If you don't do that, you are not going to receive any letters. So now you know how to send a letter in Germany. Do you also need to send a parcel in Germany? I have written a super detailed guide on this topic on my website. You will find all the details about sending a letter or a parcel in Germany and all the tips and tricks. You can see the link in the video description below. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a nice day. Cheers!